So this is how we get them in. The ties, again, are to keep it straight.
Okay. Yeah.
So these are now what we do is that these, of course so we cut these out all across here, and then now these are this time we're going to be sent out. I'm having ground outside of house here. Because they have CNC grinders a little bit faster and a lot more better than I can do them. And these are very, very time consuming to do, extremely time consuming.
Yeah, I don't know how well it works. I've sold one of them, but Shoreline sells a CNC grinder.
But it's okay for camshafts basically, but it's not good for crankshafts for this. And I'll tell you here's because you have to move with 3 axes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You can't just go in and out.
In and out, right.
Because you have your wheels to move up and down the center line, or you have to get in an egg with an egg. So that now what I do grind these between offset grinding, and so it's going around and round, but this is on center. Yeah. So it's called offset grinding, but they'll CNC grind them the same way. Offset.
Yeah, grinding. It's probably easier just to send them out
and then when they're finished, they look like this, of course,
That's cool.
Now what happens is that I drill the holes in prior to these, then have them heat treated, but the next ones they'll take and put the holes in after it's heat treated with something called a hole popper. It's an EDM machine, exactly like you see in a full size. Now, see, even you see the wire mesh inside. Yeah. Exactly like a full size car would have. So, this is a reject piece of here. But anyway, these are all laser cut pieces. But everything is laser cut, and they do an extremely good job. It's like
Oh yeah. I can't even imagine cutting one of those by hand.
Can't. Not get it accurate.
Crazy. That's cool.
And all the gaskets are the same way. Everything's laser cut.
Not only that, if you get a bad one, you grab another one, it's gonna be exactly the same as the last one.
See, and it'd be impossible to make that. So that's what again sets this engine apart from everything else. And not that it's perfect, it's just that I'm trying to put extremes in this engine so I don't have to go back and redo it. Here are the rocker arms to give you an idea. I get the rocker arms. Again, these are wax. Again, you can't get the shape by I could stamp it. It'd be hard to do. And then this piece here, believe it or not, we take this and remove it, and this is the pivot.
Okay. That
goes inside the rocker arm, so it rocks back and forth. And you see the pivot on the bottom side. So I grab it. Believe it or not, I grab it with a square collet here, and then I drill the hole through it. We cut it off first, and then I grab the square collet, drill the hole through it then. And then that goes into this piece here.
That's cool.
So there are lots of other ways to make them, but these are kind of what Chrysler had, and so I'm trying to follow their lead. Water pumps, they're unfinished, ready to go. And then we'll take in where the riser was, or runner was, we'll take and clean this up before we start doing any machining on them. But you end up with a real nice looking piece like this, and when you couple that to the timing cover, now you've got pieces that look like they should be there.
Exactly. And
there's the difference, I think, and that's why I've gone to such extremes on this engine.
There's some nice engines out there, but that by far, I mean, it looks like you took the real engine, brought out
that's why this.
And
let's see if we can pull this part here. And this is the finished head. You see.
So do you have to have special springs wound?
Yes, I do. So, but I end up with this kind of detail.
Iron liners?
Yes. Those are put in after the fact.
Are they? Do you buy those pre-made, or are they out of bar stock? Or?
They're cast iron, fine grain cast, and I have them. Actually, I don't make these. I have these made for me, and then once they're done, the outside dimension is exact. The ID is about 5 less, and then I hone the liners, and then I literally drop them into place and Loctite them in there.
Curious, what kind of hone you use for that?
Sun and hone.
Sun and like a small.
Well, I'll show you in a second. It's a full size sun and hone, and we use it for, and then I hone each cylinder separately, and then drop them in place, and then once they're in there and they've set up, then I'll come in and I'll deck them, bring them down to the exact height. There are bearing inserts in here, and if you see, there's the oil lines down clear on the inside here. The oil lines put in after the fact, so I can feed all the bearings then. And then you see it's a 6-bolt main, 4 bolts for each one, and 2 cross bolts, 1 on each side. And nobody would go to those extremes.
No, yeah, it's just cool.
So,
can we get the wax casting
sure.
next to that so you can get a
sure. made on screw machines, and then I heat treat them, have them ground then.
They probably kick them out like by the
Pretty
dozens.
fast, yeah. We make them out of a 12L14, but then they're cased about 10 deep, so I end up with a very, very hard surface, but with a very, with a relatively soft core, so they're not brittle.
Okay, yeah.
The crankshafts are 4130. They're through hardened as are the camshaft. The new pan, which was a great idea, I thought at one time, it still is. I'm going to make an optional pan for guys that want to run these in cars.
Okay.
The reason there is a recessed in normal engines is to clear front cross members, steering arms, and everything else. So I'll make another pan later on for guys that are going to use them in a car. So there'll be two different pans. It's dry sump anyway, so there's no oil in it. There's no reason for it. Okay. So I can make any shape I want. You know, but this end again, it's lost wax. It ends up so clean. It's unreal. You know, so it'll give me damn near in that shape. You know. So it's back where I get here we go. So okay. People think that you know people, especially that are limited in their knowledge of machining.
Yeah.
They think that you turn a computer on
Yeah.
and you start it up.
And press a button, and there's a finished machine.
A running engine comes out the other end, ready to go. And they don't, and no one has any concept, or a lot of people don't have any concept of what it takes to get an engine and get done right. You know. So.
That's true.
So is this something else you're working on with the wall bros? Or
I'm working on a little bit of transitioning for them. If it works, it may or may not work. I don't care, but I'm going to try it and see what I can do with it. You know.
And what modification is that?
Well, it's so involved. I really cannot get into it of all the things that what's going to go into it. It's just it's the transfer ports. It's the there's just so many little tiny. Believe it or not, there's a little. Well, I'll tell you what. When I get it done, if it works, I'll let you know. It also gives me space for the starter gear too. Now, on the bottom there, on this piece, what happens is that if you look. If you see the threads of this piece right here, this bolt goes through holding the oil pump on. Underneath this, there is a screw that goes in. That screw goes in, and what happens on that? That is a check valve that doesn't allow the oil to go backwards in there. So what happens is that the set screw on the bottom side, because of the pressure, is leaking around the set screw and coming out here. Okay. So. You know, there's a couple things we could do. I know exactly where it's coming from now because I saw the drip coming from this. What I did before, when I found the drip there, I just put a little RTV on this. But the problem is that I didn't clean it ahead. I see where it's happening now. I didn't clean it ahead of time, not thinking. I wiped it down.
The RTV didn't seal.
The RTV didn't seal. So my suggestion is that if you want to do it, there's a couple ways that you can do this. That's easy. I would say. Well, you have it. You don't have to take the engine off, but what you can do, and this is a very simple thing to do. And I'll show you how to do it. You ought to know this anyway. While the engine's setting here, you take and loosen this. You're gonna love this. This is the new oil pump design too. So there's only two screws, not the middle one.
Okay.
Upper and lower. Okay. This here wiggles off. Comes out, take the belt off, and now you have the quick disconnects. I can take those off. Okay, now I've got the pump in my hands. Clean it up with a little lacquer thinner or denatured alcohol. puts an RTV on there, and then what happens? I don't care because what's going to happen as you turn the screw back in, it's not going to take the RTV with it anyway.
Right.
See, because there's a little oil on the screen. Never get that off. But clean it off because it has oil on it. You can see.
Mm-hmm.
Clean it off it, and I would put a small drop of blue Loctite on it. Blue Loctite is not permanent.
Right.
And I would put it on the threads and then put it back in, and then tighten it down. When it's done, it's a simple matter of putting the pieces back together. Here, back in here, and then we put the belt back on. Align the screws back into the brackets. Here. And once again, we'll tighten it back down. Oh, wait a second. I'm glad I saw this. This is a good thing. Whoops. It's okay. Now, see this? This O-ring? Yeah, I'm glad I did it. This goes right in here. It seals the whole thing off. It doesn't seal. You end up having oil everywhere. In places.
Sounds like you've done that before.
I've done it before. So it's a matter of putting on here, bring it back up to where the pieces align, bring it back. We should be able to.
Yeah, just an round O-ring kind of pushed in there.
That's all it is.
Okay.
And it allows that's for the oil to get to where it has to go.
Now, how tight is set?
Just snug it down. Just normal. Just snug it down.
The
Okay.
set screw that you take out and clean, how tight you put that set screw back in? Doesn't matter.
Just really tight.
Really tight?
Real tight. You'll tighten it up. Piece,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was awesome.
The red butterfly valve.
Yeah, they look good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the linkage will be hooked up to the linkage of the carburetor also.
Yeah, just.
So it'll be in unison. With the carburetors up here, let me set two of these carburetors. There's blanks here. I'll give you a kind of good perspective of what we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
See, and that would be more reminiscent of what we're doing on these things. So,
You think that'll be available when?
well, I've got the pattern here. All I've got to do is make the molds for it. Do we have a new piece? We got that. I think we got a new piece there for it, Larry. There we go. Okay. Okay.
I have little pieces over here.
Yep.
It should be okay. Yeah. We're plugged in here. Everything looks like it's ready, good to go. Let's see what we got. Now I turn it back in. I just the carburetor, thinking that was it. That really wasn't it.
Timing was just
The
off.
time was off. Now,
The gas, I think you need gas.
yeah, we're out, I guess.
me-
Now let's try this again. There we go, that's enough. Okay. Thank you, sir. Now let's see if this- And what I want to do is I want to turn the oil on the advance a little bit more. I've done this so many times that I can damn near get the timing set almost perfect by ear because I've done it so many times. Drip now, see where it's coming from. What happens as the rings start to seat more and more? Then what happens is that the engine now that you see all of a sudden it'll rev real high, and then it when it hits on all 8 cylinders, it hits instantly. If it loads up a little bit from oil that is sliding by the ring, which comes out the exhaust, then it has to clear that out, and that's what's happening right now. So it hits on about 6, 8 cylinders, and then all of a sudden when it hits 8, you hear it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the more you run it, the more that'll clean up.
Do you have any?
And the less smoke, the less oil drops, the lower, but all get better and better and better.
Is there any sort of break-in sequence you use?
Just don't hold a high RPM for very long break, because that's believe it or not, that's about a 10,000 RPM there. We run at high end.
Yeah,
it's pretty high. So, but anyway, it's doing extremely well now. I'm very, very pleased with it. The fact that you see oil in here, it should be oil. You should see bubbles in that. Mm-hmm. That's a real fast way of seeing that the pump, to make sure the pumps are running. I would also check periodically to make sure. Give me those hemostats right there. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Make sure that that the wires are down, because in transport sometimes they will have a tendency to loosen a little bit. So all I'm doing right now is just pushing them, make sure they're down. It's a very simple thing to do. And then also that will cause an engine to misfire if one of those is not in close enough contact with the spark plug itself. So I'll make sure.
With the smaller size, do you have any issue with it arcing?
No. You know, in absolute honesty, I've had other little problems happen with the engine during this. The ignition system, which should have been the biggest problem, has 0 problems. 0. And I don't, and I should have had arcing issues, carbon tracking. I should have had all those issues that you have in a full-size car. I've experienced nothing on this engine. Now, what I will show you is that on a rare occasion, I'll put this off here. Okay. On a rare occasion, and there's nothing in here right now. Let me get a paper towel. Okay. On a very rare occasion, you'll see some, I want to say, brass dust or whatever, and what happens is that if you see, if you clean it out, you'll find out there's an oil residue there from being on the outside of the edge, but there's no carbon tracking, there's nothing inside this cap, and it's as good as it's going to get. And you see the center electrode is spring loaded also, so it keeps a nice contact all the time. Again, full size applications. And if you notice, the rotor itself, the contact is extremely small. There's a reason for that, because if you have a big contact, it will make contact before the point, after the point, and during the point. So all of a sudden now that's what causes the carbon tracking from point to point. It draws a big arc and it hits the other one right away, and that's normally what causes problems in model engines. This piece right here, is actually made of 2 pieces. This brass electrode and this wire are in the middle of this, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like. It's one piece, and so there's no way an arc is going to go from here anywhere else and across here, because it's going to take this path.
Right. And
then it's all insulated, so there's no problems. Now what this allows me to do, these screws here, it allows me to set timing so it's perfect. And other people have done this, and they're trying to turn the distributors. Well, turning a distributor doesn't get your timing right.
Right.
You have to tell it where to hope, and then you have to set your distributor once you know where the timing marks are, on the cap. So we set a cap on here first, set the timing up, then set that timing to the ignition timing of the engine. Then that's how it goes. Now this is it's keyed, so it only goes on one way. Right here, it comes up, and this is. The little clips are actually work so stinking well. I've had no problems. We got enough gas, I think. what I do on adjusting the valves is that normally you'd may have hit the starter motor to get it so this is all the way up. What I do is I take the bell housing off, rotate the engine manually. It's the easiest thing to do.
Is there a mark on the flywheel or something?
No, there's nothing needed. The best thing to do. Oh, they're everywhere. If it's in a car, obviously it's a little hard to do this. I'm gonna show you manually how to do this. But if you have it in a starter motor, just have to blip the starter motor, and I'll show you why. Now, when this rocker arm is up, you see one is down, one is up.
Yep.
When the other one's down, the other one's up. See? So that's what we want to do. Now at this point in time, when this one here goes down, it's on its way down now. I want to adjust this rocker arm, and it's very simply done. Slide the feeler gauge underneath here, and it should be a very little resistance. What I do is I loosen the center jam nut, and I just literally turn it by hand until you only turn it so tight, and now it's a little bit snug on here.
Yep.
That's really all you have to do. Hold it there, tighten it down,
Do you have
done.
any problems with, since the springs aren't real heavy, is just be careful you don't over tighten and compress the spring?
No, because you'd know it immediately because
Okay.
the feeder
It does
gauge can't
grab
pull it
tight.
out. It pulls
Okay.
pretty tight, yeah.
Okay.
So that's all there is to it. And then when this one goes down, this one's back up. Now again, this is a new engine here, so this one here is when it starts down. I think I went all the way around. Yeah, I did. Okay. Now it's down. This one's all the way up. Put the feeder gauge in here like this, and these have already been adjusted, but for the sake of argument. And now, if I loosen it, you can see it's very loose. And but if I just take and turn it down my fingertips, then tighten this. It's almost the exact pressure I need. There's really no wrench. I supplied a little wrench there, but there's really no reason to use it, And that is all there is to it. So if you hit the starter motor and you turn it around, you just blip it till this goes down. Check the other one. It's very simple.
Okay.
That's all there is to it. And then of course make sure that you put the screws back in tight for the valve
How
cover.
often would you do that?
After about the first hour, and this engine here will after about another half hour, an hour, I would adjust them. Because what happens, there is a small amount of wear that appears on the pivot inside the rocker arm. The wiping surface of the rocker arm on the valve, there's a little bit of wear. The ball, the push rods themselves have a ball on the end of them. There's probably a little bit of a small. So it doesn't sound like much, but when you have all these items and even the lifter on the camshaft, as it wears, there'll be a very minimal wear. But as this happens, then you can go back and check the clearance on those things, and you'll find out that after an hour, all of a sudden you think, wow, there's a lot here. But it seems like a lot, but keep in mind you're using only a 6,000 feeler gauge.
This
And
6,000 about a piece of paper.
yeah, well, a piece of paper about 003 or so.
Yeah.
So this is about a human hair, if you have it, is normally around between 2,000s and 3,000s. Black being a little heavier, blonde being a little finer. So we did this when we were in college. We measured these things anyway, because we had nothing else to do. But what happens is that this is the thickness of 2 hairs, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you have the thickness of 3 hairs, that's small stuff, and you'd be able to feel it instantly. It'd feel like a battleship in here, but it really isn't. And again, the closer the valves are, the better they are. It's better to have them too loose than too tight.
Yep.
Within reason. A very little bit too loose, but too tight valve is not a good thing. It'll burn, and then you don't want that.
Well, Gary, thanks for showing us your shop and
Oh.
some basic tips on the engine.
My pleasure.